Hi, everyone. Welcome to the Biz Dev Podcast, the podcast about developing your business. I am David Baxter, your host, and I'm here with Hair Club for Men client Gary Voigt. How's it going, man?
I think you used that one before.
Did I use that one?
I think you used that one before, but that's okay. I mean, it's quite obvious that you're very envious of my hair, so we'll just move on from there.
It's true. That is totally true. I didn't know what that was. I'm pulling out
subconsciously now. It's just we all know that you're jealous of my hair. You've used it multiple times.
Oh, I am certainly not ashamed of my jealousy for your hair, for sure. Your whole family has wonderful hair, and it's disgusting. And I'm angry at you all the time. I think honestly, that's why I want to fire you.
One of my favorite things on this planet is that my younger brother is way grayer than I am. So,
oh yeah, he
looks
he's
way
like
older
a calico
than me.
cat. So it's a bit of history. So the reason I know Gary and the reason I've known Gary now for 17 years is through his brother, who actually worked with me back in Florida. And I was Jeff, his brother. I was his boss for that's probably overstating. I was the team lead. He was on the team, however you want to say that. And his brother is the best coder I've ever met. I've said that to his face many times. Gary, I don't know why he has no talent, but his brother's very good. But his brother is graying like crazy, and he's my age, and Gary's older than both of us. So another reason I hate you. That's just that simple. On that happy note,
yeah, my brother lucked out.
Let's talk about Kanye.
Got the tall genes too. He's way taller than me.
I thought you were tall. I've only met Gary.
Well, I mean,
twice.
compared to
right?
you, everybody's
3
tall,
times.
but
fair.
Twofer.
No, that's fair. Short.
You got to continue the intro.
Don't bother me. No, do I? Nah, the intro. Everybody knows what we're talking about. I'm okay with short jokes because I've had them. You know, my moment. 3rd grade, true story. 3rd grade, everyone called me shrimp. I don't even know how tall I was. Microscopic, most likely. Everyone called me shrimp, and originally that really bothered me. And at some point, I made the flip, and short jokes haven't bothered me since. My best friend is 5'7". I'm 5'6". He's 5'7", and he gives me the worst time because he's like, no one else.
You're the only one. Yeah,
that's it.
I remember being.
So he just rides me like a pony.
I was short, and I was short and like not skinny, but just kind of like a small in stature, just overall. Mm-hmm. Until about like midway through 8th grade. I remember being in phys ed in 8th grade amongst everybody, and the teachers measuring you and weighing you and then taking body fat percentages.
Doing that in public is good times.
Everybody there, except for like a couple of the jock kids, were just like scared to death looking at each other like, oh my God, I'm going to be ridiculed so badly for whatever the results of this are. And I was 4'11" and a half. And
what grade was this?
8th grade.
Wow, really? Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah, but I got teased by everybody 5 foot and up for the rest of the year. And I didn't grow that much until like 9th grade.
How is that?
I was blonde. I had straight blonde hair.
I was 5'2" in 8th grade. How in the world?
Short. It's just weird. My younger daughter was the same way. She was born with blue eyes and bright blonde hair, and she was very short for a while. And then all of a sudden, her hair started getting darker. She started getting taller and stronger, and her eyes changed from blue to like a hazel now. They're like a hazelish, brownish green.
That's crazy. And you're what, 5'10"?
Now? Yeah, I think 5'10".
Well, I don't care about what.
5'9.5", 5'10", something like that. I'm not tall, but I'm not.
Your average
short.
height.
Yeah.
That is normal sized. Your brother is 6'1" or 6'2", I think.
I think he's 6'2" or maybe even 6'3".
Which is weird because neither of your parents are tall. No, he's 5'11" and a half. Neither of your parents are tall. That's what's so fascinating. My son is still holding out hope that he will somehow hit some massive growth spurt. He's officially taller than me, 5'7". He's killing it. But he is hoping there's an uncle like buried somewhere. And in all honesty, every other Baxter in my family is normal size. They're your height, 5'10", 5'9", 5'11". And I'm like, sorry, Noah, you got the runt. I don't know what to tell you. You came from the runt of the litter. I don't know what to tell you. So I'm the only short one in my whole family.
Other than our shortcomings, I got a list of topics here. Kanye's on the list, but there was a couple more if you want to pick from, just because it's been pretty crazy the last couple of weeks. Meta introducing their avatars with legs, but just not yet. Just maybe one day. We'll see.
The legs are that was a tease and not yeah.
It's just funny because we had the whole rant on why do AR and VR characters never have legs? They're just floating.
They don't have legs. I think what came out really when it comes to Meta really hard this week is that the dreams of the metaverse as a general concept has largely just not gone anywhere. Like there was a little bit of buzz initially when they launched it.
Yeah.
No one cares. And we'll see. They've got the new fancy Oculus Pro that they're coming out with, which is very expensive and from all accounts a very good product, but it's like $1,600. It's really pricey compared to their Quest 2, which is what everyone has, which is $400. I mean, it's a big jump.
Now, speaking of AR, I did see a clip that Marquez Brownlee posted that he said like AR is here, and it showed like a view from inside these new goggles. And I don't know, he didn't say what company or what it was from, but there was just one laptop sitting on a desk with a window open. And then he put the goggles in front of the camera. And then it was almost exactly like you explained how it would work for, business and for work or whatever. All of a sudden you
infinite
saw five screens like across the whole table space. And like you were able to move things to each screen. So I was like, well, David called it. But so we'll see if that ever happens. But
I saw an interesting demo from Unity, which is a game development company. Unity, it was AR, and the guy put on goggles, and it was very crude, but it was meant to be a demo. And he kind of he had these little controllers, right? And he kind of carves out a place on his desk, and now you see his real desk below it, like the wood of his desk. And then you see him grab the thing, and he draws a square, like a crayon square, and then he does a gizmo with the thing and picks it up and puts it in front of him. So now it's floating in front of him. And so he's doing all of this stuff, like he's grabbing all of these squares, and now he can pick them up and put them there. And he's wireframing is what he's doing, but he's drawing. And then he's like, okay, I want to put that here. And then he draws another one. He puts another here. It was pretty neat, pretty cool little. I mean, it was low tech, but very cool.
It makes me think of Minority Report instantly.
I think Minority Report. They really were ahead of their time. The whole concept, if you remember that movie, they had the gloves that were like this.
Yeah.
They would cover 3 of their fingers, and that's how they manipulated everything.
And they had
I'm going to call it
like the contact lens insert thing that was kind of like the AR thing where they didn't all have to wear the
contact lens. I don't think that's our lifetime. That whole thing, that's miniaturization on a whole nother level. But those gloves, I am betting that is where, because right now we have the big clunky controllers, and they're getting better and better. And now they have haptics, and they're getting more precise.
I think you just got to make a motion sensor small enough to fit into a synthetic glove instead of like a larger.
Well, it doesn't have to do anything. The glove just has to be registered by the gizmo in your face, right? If you have something that it can register, which again, some of them I've seen were like fingertips, right? And if the camera is sensitive enough,
capture type technology,
correct,
not actual.
Well, but it's not even just motion capture. What it's giving them anchor points. Does that make sense? If I put a piece of tape here, even it's not. I have to track. If I have nothing on my finger, I have to track it, and I have to be very smart to know exactly where your finger is. If I have something that it recognizes, there's a little RFID chip. I'm making that up, but whatever. It now has an anchor point. So now it doesn't even have to see it, right? It knows that thing's 2 feet to the left because it has an anchor point. And that becomes now a very powerful thing. And it doesn't take a lot of processing power to track that, as opposed to your finger is at 16 degrees, 17 degrees. You know what I'm saying? That's way more complicated. Anyway.
Yeah. Other disasters, Microsoft Designer.
That is not a disaster. You're just a snot. I think that's very cool.
No, actually, I think
it's very
for
cool
the market
for a
they're
very
going
specific
after,
audience. Yeah,
for the market they're going after, it seems like they're competing head to head with Canva and offering the Microsoft AI as like the added feature to it. So,
which is pretty genius. It's using
how it goes for them.
DALL-E. Which do you think? I'm just thinking this out loud. Do you think DALL-E? It's DALL-E. Is that a playoff of Wall-E, you think? I just thought about that.
I thought it was more of a playoff of Salvador Dali.
Okay, either one. Okay, I like that too.
Surrealism and
yeah.
But
so
I mean, it probably has.
That's one of those. Type in a phrase and the art generator makes it, and we've played with that some. It's amazing. I mean, it's still really rough. Like I did for some reason. This is weird. I tried to get Gary to talk to me about this, but he ignored me. I put in just Gary's name as a prompt. I did it for me too, just to see what would happen. And it comes out, for me, it came out with this old white dude who was probably 70 plus at a conference wearing a yellow tie with some weird designs on it.
Like giving a keynote speech.
Yeah, it was like that AI had to make so many very interesting decisions completely on its own. Like, okay, obviously I'm a person, but it has no idea my race. It has no idea my age, and it's just choosing these things. Why did it put me in a conference? I would love to know that tree of decisions as to how that. When it did Gary, interestingly enough, I said painting. I said Gary Voigt painting, and the creepiest one it gave you was a dude painting, but he had no eyes. Like they were totally gone from his face. I was like, dude, that's super creepy. But I think that's really interesting. Back to the designer part. I think it's really interesting because Canva is dominating a very specific market. I need to make corporate style social media stuff, right? Simple graphics, bold text, boom. This is a big part of people's social media. So we don't use Canva because Gary won't allow it, but a lot of people do. Do you think that Canva is nervous at all because of this connection to the AI art that we were just talking about, or do you think they don't care?
Last time I saw Canva was like rated at like $26 billion. They're worth in the market, but I
mean, they're dominating.
Microsoft is huge, and I think if Microsoft starts putting this designer just as a part of their OS and not like a separate thing, it's
going to be part of Office,
right? And it's going to be through the browser, but I mean, you're going to have the subscription to Office or whatever it is, right?
Well, they have like 100 million of those.
Just that's how based on market share alone I think Canva is going to be nervous about that. Whether they can compete with the AI, I don't know. AI is still, when it comes to design and stuff like that, it's still really new. And while it's really cool to see like, wow, look what it can do versus I need it to do this and it's just not right. It's close, but it's just not enough. Like right now, it's still, I don't know if that's because Canva's pushing the idea of, you can be your own designer. We're just giving you the tools and just kind of giving you the template, the ideas, but you're going to have to you can rearrange things. You can pick this and pick that. I think that is more of the purpose to the audience instead of you just tell us what you want to create. We'll do it for you and your hands off. You know what I mean? So I think the AI thing is still kind of like, it's a novelty still, but I don't think at this stage it's dangerous in the way of taking away people's creative decision making.
What I thought was neat about I only saw a little demo of the designer, is Microsoft during that little demo was very clear. They did a very creative thing. They know the weaknesses of this AI art.
Yeah, they made it look far more advanced than it actually
Well, it was background stuff, right? It was the background, and then they put the bright colors and boxes over it so that the tree and the starscape or whatever the art generator did just becomes very interesting, but it's not the focus. And I thought that was pretty genius.
But people that use it are going to think they could just type in what they want, and then AI is going to create the whole customized, graphic design piece.
Well, what I've heard, and I don't know anything about this because I've never done it except for playing with it. There's apparently a new skill set, kind of like Google Foo, right? Like everyone who's listening to me knows there's someone in your family or friend circle who they need to look something up on Google, and they're just amazing at it, right? They find that answer because we call it Google Foo and
keywords and
they know exactly what to search. Apparently, that same kind of skill set is there to make the AI art do what you want. If you type certain things, they know how it's going to do it.
The more explicit and clear direction you give it, the more
I guess
the results will be a lot more what you're thinking in the end. Yeah.
Couldn't you see Fiverr being that? like an artistic guy, but he's really, really good at this AI art thing. Like instead of, I'm just saying, because these Fiverr guys, I would initially think they're scared, right? This
I was
AI
going to say,
art thing comes
I think
up.
Fiverr is more afraid than Canva.
But if Fiverr now you say, well, I can't get this art thing to work, I'll pay you $25. And he's just like, cool. Blah, blah, blah. In 10 minutes, he comes up with this amazing phrase that the Dolly or whatever comes up with this great art. Here you go. I didn't have to spend 5 hours making this. I took 5 minutes. Here. I think there's something there because that's very cool. Anyway, I'm intrigued.
The AI art is a whole rabbit hole we can go down another time.
Oh yeah, I could talk about that forever. All right, let's get to the important.
And then
one.
if you wanted to talk about two other,
I just want to talk about Kanye. Let's just give me a little Kanye.
Failing in the social world, Kanye and Elon, but we'll just stick with Kanye.
Stick with Kanye because that just happened today. We're recording. It's Monday, and Kanye is buying. It's like the Daily. It's Monday, yeah. October 17th.
Your news for October 17th.
Kanye is wanting to buy Parler.
It's people that are so desperate for social media adulation and fame that when they don't get it, they decide they're just going to buy a social media platform instead.
Well, here's the thing. I don't
and one that agrees with them or force it to agree with you.
I don't agree with what happens on Parler, but the basic idea that any company, Apple, Google being the primary gatekeepers, can say, you said something we don't agree with. We decided what you're allowed to say, and you crossed that line. Now, in this case, that they got rid of all the right-wing extreme, neo-Nazi kind of hate people. Fine. I'm totally fine getting rid of them. But just thinking arbitrarily, they chose this was a line you couldn't. And so Parler comes about, and the theory behind it is that you can say what you want. The problem is the practicality of that is all the horrible people now gather on your side.
That got kicked out of the other platforms. Came to yours.
I mean, yes. the principle behind it is very good, right? To a point. I don't know that point. I am not qualified to make that point, but I love the principle of it. But at the same time, it's like the principle's there, but then the practicality rears its ugly head, and you're like, nope, that's not the answer, because all those creepazoids are now on Parler, and now you have Parler over here, and then you have Truth Social, which is Trump's mess. They both are catering to that same group. And Truth Social, I think, I'm going to make that call right now, will be gone within 6 months, like gone.
Yeah, they're under some heavy fraud investigations now.
They've been under lots of investigations, but the investors are now getting nervous and backing away.
It's been going downward for a while. But Parler, I don't know anything about other than I've heard it mentioned as like what I've heard it, I guess, is one of those other, they claim to be like a competitor of Twitter, but have like,
it's Twitter with no filters.
Small percentage of the but what's their user base? Like
tiny and getting smaller.
Yeah.
I mean, Truth Social, you can tell just by Trump's numbers alone, right? He's the biggest draw to Truth Social. That's just fact.
Well, it was built for him.
It was built for him and by his cronies. So when he was on Twitter, he had 87 million followers. When he's on Truth, he has 4 million. I mean, that alone tells you everything you need to know. No matter if the biggest draw coming to you has 5% of the followers he had before, it's dead. It's dead in the water because that only makes money off of advertising. And that means your numbers are so low. That's just how startups like that work, which I will put on my little business hat, is why I tell every single startup who comes to me, do not make your money off of ads unless you are very, very, very specific and targeted. So we have a client who is targeting a very specific niche, and I gave them the advice. They were like, hey, when you're coming to our site, the people who want to advertise to you will be very excited to do so. So what they're contemplating is not going and putting Google ads up there. They're talking about building their own little mini ad platform and selling the ads themselves, because the people who come to that niche, the audience that they're catering to is super specific. So for instance, this is not them, but I'm trying to give an example so it's not so vague. If I were making a site specifically for runners, then that's all I did. It was super focused on runners. Then if I, being the site owner, sold ads specifically for, say, shoes and running socks and gear for that website, I can charge way, way more money than Google would get, because
you have an encapsulated, focused, engaged audience. And that's the exact target for
only time I've ever recommended ads, when you can do that. I'll give you my history on that. When I mentioned before, my old WebOS Roundup, it was a phone site years ago, 2009. I had, at the height, we had 300,000 visitors a month, which was fun. Really enjoyed it. But I was selling ads for the app developers for that phone. And I knew I had a captured audience. So that little site, if I had done Google or whatever, I would have made like $100 a month. But I was able to sell these little ad squares for $1,200 a month, and for like 6 to 8 months to a year before it all fell apart. But I mean, I think it was something at the height. It was like $1,200 a month. But that's what I mean.
Now, it didn't fall apart because of your doing it. It fell apart because the actual operating system that you were covering kind of fell apart.
Correct. Yeah, it was about WebOS, and WebOS died a fiery death. It was just eaten alive like everything else, including Windows Phone.
I think, did that eventually turn into Raspberry Pi?
No.
Is that like
that became, if you have an
iteration of that?
If you have LG TVs run on WebOS now.
That was the operating system. So that's the backbone of their interface. Mm-hmm. All right.
Yeah, I mean, they had some really great stuff. Anyway, but that's the only time I've ever advised doing ads is when you can do that, because you can make good money that way. If you have that right audience and target market fit kind of thing, then you don't need millions and millions and millions of people, right? That's where Twitter didn't make a single dollar of profit for 12 years. That is one heck of a runway, man. And they make money off and on still to this day, but that's just really hard. Most startups can never do that. And so don't chase that rabbit. You'll never catch it.
So you mentioned that you were discussing this option with one of our clients.
Yep.
And the main part of today's podcast was going to be not underestimating strategy. Mm-hmm. So, because lately I've been writing case studies for some of our past projects, and I'm asking myself the same kind of questions when I look at the projects and the history. What was the overall scope? What was the main goal of the product or the idea? And how did we implement our unique skills into this? And then because of that, what was the conclusion? What was the outcome? How did it benefit the business or the company? And so every time that I write about how we implemented our unique skills, I mean, you could always say like, well, we designed this, we built that, now it's faster and more secure. But there's always a layer that I try to get to. That's how did we actually become more of a digital partner or a strategic partner to their business idea, not just the building of their product. So a lot of what Big Pixel does that's unique compared to other software development companies. And one of the reasons that I think we love startups so much is because the amount of excitement and knowledge and strategy that you can actually bring to that client just through like a normal exploratory session, or we call them strategy sessions too now. And meanwhile, you can actually sign up for a free strategy session on our website now if you wanted to.
Cheap plug.
But yeah, cheap plug. But what is the purpose of this strategy session, both from your perspective and from the client's perspective, without getting specific into a client or specific into, a solution that you offered? Because there's more than just the function of the software, and it's more than just the customer to the product we're building, or, what we're selling and how we're selling it for them. That goes into what we offer as far as being a digital partner.
Sure.
Or a strategic partner in building out their product or idea. So in one strategy session, like, break down what do you try to get from the client? What do you try to do to help them see their vision beyond their passion? Sometimes that objective view helps. And then if you have a couple examples of how it might have benefited that product, or maybe if it was something we added or took away from their original idea that ended up turning out better, like, what are your goals in the strategy session? What do you hope to accomplish?
I think my general goal is getting past the zeros and ones. Everyone who has a startup idea has been thinking and noodling on this for a very long time, and they think they know how it should work. Just like every kid thinks they know how a car should be designed when they're drawing on a piece of paper, right? This is how a car.
Yeah, they just want it to look as cool as the coolest
right,
race car they've ever seen,
and it has
then
nothing
make it
to
a
do with
little cooler.
Yeah, they don't know how to design a car, and I'm not insulting anybody's intelligence to say the people who are coming to us don't know how to design software. So because that's a skill set, and not everyone has it. If you've never done it, it's different than you think it is. Just like I can't design a house besides saying I would like this room and that room, but the architect is going to, put together the load bearing this.
Yeah, you don't know where to put the wiring,
sure,
the plumbing, all that stuff. You don't know how to.
I don't know how to make it work. So it's the same concept. I'm not going to tell an architect how to make my house. I shouldn't expect that software can just be thrown together. But outside of that, I want them to take a step back from that, because everyone comes to me here's my spec. I want you to build this. I put it politely to the side and no, let's talk, because you're, again, coming at this from a place of passion, and some people are very knowledgeable about tech. Most are not. So you don't know what software can and cannot do. You don't know what APIs you could grab to save yourself a lot of time. You don't know good UX and flow, and wow, that's a lot of screens, and oh my goodness, right? That kind of stuff. And so I want to back up and I want to capture the essence of the idea. That's what we do in our strategy sessions. Who are you? What are you doing here is kind of where we're starting, because who you are affects that. What's your history? There's a reason you had this idea, or at least I hope there is, right? If you're just a guy who says, well, I think this is an idea that might make me a lot of money, you're not getting through the slog, which we've talked about many times, with just that kind of idea. The people I get most excited about are those who are coming from something that they personally have experienced, something they personally feel they have to solve. Like it's in their bones that they have to solve this. A classic example of that is Grammar Flip, one of our clients. He was an English teacher. He is teaching grammar. He knows how to teach grammar, but he's reaching a small audience, and he knows he can do a better job of this. And he is so excited because he knows he can do this. And he is, I tell you, having a client who's a grammar expert, every email you write to that man has to be perfect.
Oh, nervous fingers, making sure
there's no fat
really
fingers
installed, and you're checking.
Oh yeah, I never check my emails except with him. Like
complete sentences,
so bad.
Oxford commas.
You can't mess up with him. Not that he's going to call you on it, but it's a level of professionalism. He's going to write in perfect grammar, of course.
Yeah.
So you must respond in kind. But he was able to take a subject he loved and turn it into a business. That's so awesome. That's so exciting. That's who I ideally love to work with. Those kinds of people.
With a client like that, you've obviously gone through the strategy session. They became a client, and we've worked with them for a while.
Sure.
But as far as like the back and forth between the client and Big Pixel with more strategy for new features and like that doesn't just stop. There's always a constant give and take between, idea sharing and refining and optimizing those ideas to better fit the product for the end result.
Sure. So we actually were just talking about that internally. So we have our project managers who deal with the clients day in, day out, feature this, feature that, fix this bug, whatever. That's their job. And if you leave them to their druthers over years, let's say we have a client who we're managing their custom software stack, not necessarily a startup, but their whole company is running off of software we are building. That project never ends because it's core to their business. And so when you leave a project manager in charge of this, and this is a critical skill, I'm not selling this short, but the product will inch forward. It will go along a path, and it will get better on a very linear path. When we talk about strategy, it's a different skill set to come in and talk about new initiatives. Let's talk about a different direction. Let's not just inch forward. Let's go into another path. Let's think about 2 years in the future. Where do you want to be, and how do we build today to get there? Right? That's strategy that takes a different skill set than the make this current thing better and better and better, inch, inch, inch. We're trying to create new paths and jump. And of course, self-serving, that's more work for us, right? That, sure. But what's better is by bringing in that strategy, we're getting them to realize things they never thought about. And that's really when we hit our stride, is when we're really challenging them and thinking about new ways to monetize, right? How do you make more money off of this?
And we're offering more value to them as well, instead of just being the team that is like, okay, like you said, check the box for new feature done, just charge by the hour and just keep it going and going and going.
Correct.
With nothing ever really making a significant impact to them.
And I think that's something that gets lost a lot of times, and that's across anybody. That's not unique to us. A lot of times you get stuck in the day-to-day building the app, inch, and you never take that step back. We try to meet with our clients on a quarterly basis to have a strategy session if you're an ongoing person. It doesn't always happen. Sometimes it doesn't happen because, sometimes we have a year's worth of work in front of us, and there's no new initiatives coming before that's done. So we can't do that. But that's the ideal thing. But I think going back to your original question, when you're talking about startups, anybody can take that spec that you hand them and turn it around and say it'll cost you this amount of money. But not everybody's going to challenge you as to whether or not that's the right spec. Now, some people don't want to be challenged. And we're really upfront about that. If you just, I know exactly what I want built, and this is what I want done, and this is what it should look like, then we are not your development firm. I'll tell them flat out, because that's not what we do. You can save yourself a lot of money by finding that kind of guy and just doing it, right? What we do and what we specialize in is partnering and challenging them. That's probably, I can think of a better way of doing that. Or did you think about this? What about this? This is a bad idea. This is a good idea. Let's talk about it. Let's rip it apart and dive in. That's what we do.
And through the course of that, throwing out ideas and, checking off what's good, bad, changing it a little bit and whiteboarding stuff out or whatever, just like, it's not always going to be our idea, and it's not always going to be their idea. It's usually going to end up in a place where neither one of either the client or Big Pixel thought of in the beginning, that actually forms into something like, oh, wow, this is actually something better than we came in with. Like this might be a good direction to take.
Well,
like I could think of a couple clients where that actually has been the outcome.
When you mix a subject matter expert, that's the client, right? They're the subject matter expert, whatever the subject is. They're coming in and they know everything about it. We can use Anthony again as grammar flip. I am never going to know as much about grammar about that guy. I'm never going to know, taking a step back, I'm not going to know as much about teaching as he does. So, and how teachers work, right? So when you mix that subject matter expert and you mix in a technology expert, you can make some really neat stuff, because he's going to be like, no, teachers don't do this. Teachers do that. And that might be totally counterintuitive to the way I would build this normally, right? Oh, if we put that behind a menu, they're never going to see that, because that's just not how they do things. Or if that is that color, they're never going to see it, or whatever. It's been weird how specific some of that stuff is. So his knowledge and then our knowledge, when we combine that, man, you get somewhere really cool. And that's really the essence of it, is you can build something you didn't imagine. And that's what we always tell them. Like, we won't spec out more than a few months worth of work, because I will tell them flat out that when we get through with this phase, it's going to look so different than what we're talking about right now. It's going to change, because you're going to have a question right in the middle, and that's going to shoot everything off into it. Oh, that's a great idea. Let's go do that. Right. And everything shifts. We always want that flexibility. If we spec, okay, we're going to do the whole thing over 2 years and it's going to look like this, this, and this. No, you're going to end up with bad software. It's got to grow organically, because you're going to get smarter, and so are we.
Yeah. And along that path as well, the technology is going to change. Delivery methods of that product are going to change. So you have to be flexible enough to adapt to that, and know, kind of looking ahead, like you said, what if we change this so that in 2 years, it's going to fit a little bit of a different mold than what we're planning for now. Like, you have to be able to adapt to that too. And I think part of the strategy, besides just the business idea, like you said, is the technical aspect of it, and knowing kind of where the industry is going, what, I guess, roadblocks that we might come up against, or what doors might open to kind of give a new path to delivering that product to your audience. So you should probably sign up for the free strategy session if you're interested in this. If you go to thebigpixel.net/free-session, you can sign up for a free strategy session. So now, to take us out of here, let's wrap it up on something more fun and in the news again. Something I thought you might be interested in, but this is just me guessing because I know I'm not really interested in it, but seems to be a lot of noise on the internet about Chris Pratt being the voice of Mario in the new Super Mario Brothers movie. Have you seen the trailer, or have you heard or seen anything about this?
Yes, and I come at this from two things. So Chris Pratt, there's a lot of hate on him because of his political views. He's a religious guy, and that's caused a lot of grief. He's conservative, and in Hollywood, that is unusual, right? And so a lot of people have come down on him on that. So there's just a lot of anti-Chris Pratt stuff. So you see some of that percolate, but he kind of shot himself in the foot early on when they were making this movie. He said it's going to be unlike anything you've ever heard before when it comes to Mario's voice, because Mario's voice is been voiced by a very famous voice actor for 20 plus years.
Yeah, since the
real high pitch.
They had a cartoon at one point, and I think he was the voice of the cartoon character as well as the voice in the video games, right?
Yeah, and he's got a very stylistic sound, but I don't think anybody wants to hear that sound, that voice for 2 hours.
No,
right?
Would...
it's a very, it's real high pitch. I'm not even going to try to do it because it would sound so bad, but everyone knows what Mario sounds like, I'm sure. I mean, even my wife does, and she doesn't play video games.
I wonder if RJ can insert a little audio clip of "It's me, I'm Mario" into this.
It's me, Mario.
But so that's an iconic thing. And so when Chris Pratt shot himself in the foot by saying it's unlike anything you've ever heard before. Dude. So it built up this hype. And then the trailer comes out and he only says one line, and well, two technically, but really there's one at the very end where he says this is going to be fun or whatever. And he's got a bit of a New York accent. It's like, or a little bit of an accent. It's not Italian. He doesn't sound like an Italian, which is probably smart because he would never win that, right? Either he would insult every Italian person or it would sound really weird, right? So he kind of has this Brooklyn sound, which, do you ever see the really, really old, like 90s Mario movie?
The live action one?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't remember seeing the entire movie, but I remember that it existed. Yes. Or that it exists.
It's really bad. Like really bad. But he had a very Italian kind of New York Italian kind of accent.
Okay.
And so that's kind of where they're saying, well, maybe he anchored it in that. Here's the thing. It's a voice. It sounds fine. He's a video game character. For my money, I'm not a huge Nintendo guy, but I played many Mario games over my life. It's cute.
Here's the beauty of the internet. And like, it's a big enough platform to get like-minded people who are super into a Mario Brothers movie discussing how much they either love or hate the direction the directors took this Mario movie. And then there's still enough room on the internet for people like me who are like, who cares about the Mario movie? Can I please get this out of my feed? Why are you in here?
I thought
I did see that Jack Black is the voice of the bad guy, dinosaur guy. What's his name?
He is Jack Black is Bowser.
Bowser, that's his name. Yeah.
I didn't know that. I couldn't hear that at all. What
I'm a fan
it was
of
very
Jack
cute.
Black. I'm sure he could do that voice pretty well.
I've been told, take this for what you will, that I remind people of Jack Black, and I'm like, I never see it, but I've been told that by multiple people over the years. Like it's my mannerisms apparently, but I love Jack Black. I always have. But I didn't know he was the voice. I'm excited about it. I thought it was very cute. They had the little penguins who threw all the snowballs at Bowser and they just bounced off his face. It was, it's just whatever. We'll see how it goes. I'm sure
if we have any gamer fans that are listening, we'll put the link in the show notes, but I'm sure by now you've probably
those gamer
watched
fans
the trailer multiple times and left your comments online to your
pro or anti Chris Pratt. I will say I'm I think I'm getting tired of Chris Pratt because Chris Pratt is always Chris Pratt. Like he's, there's certain actors who are just themselves.
You say the same thing about Keanu Reeves and The Rock. Yeah.
Keanu Reeves is another one. Tom Cruise is largely always Tom Cruise.
Yes. He is Tom Cruise playing a different character as Tom Cruise playing a character.
Yeah. And that works sometimes. Tom Cruise, I love watching Tom Cruise. I know he's Tom Cruise, and that's fine because he's cool in my head. The Rock, I am really hoping Black Adam is good. This is like, because he can't be The Rock as Black Adam. Because Black Adam is not this charming, gregarious guy that The Rock always plays in every movie. He is a jerk and he is angry. So we'll see. But he's been The Rock in every other movie. And so we'll see how he does. The early reviews have been very good. I don't know. I'm excited to see it. But Chris Pratt is the same character. Ryan Reynolds is another one. He is always Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah,
he's Deadpool in every movie he's in. And so... But sometimes that works. Like I loved Fall Guy?
Free Guy.
Gosh, I've seen that movie twice.
Another video game-based movie. Yeah.
Another video game movie. That one's very cute. That's a good movie. But he's the same character in every
speaking about
movie.
Deadpool, Deadpool 3 is going to have Wolverine, Hugh Jackman.
Oh, I love that.
I'm looking forward to
what's interesting is Hugh Jackman said he was done with Wolverine, never coming back. So it's very interesting.
Did you see the little teaser trailer? Where he's like in Ryan's house in the background, like, yeah, whatever.
Whatever. Yeah, it's perfect because to me, if you brought him back, that means him and Ryan have been friends forever. Clearly, they've been making fun of each other on the internet for a decade. And that to me means it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited for that.
I think just the energy between them two having fun is going to be fun. Kind of like when, like old 80s comedy movies. Like, do you remember Beverly Hills Cop?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Nick
like
Nolte,
you could just Nick Nolte and of course Eddie Murphy. So just you could tell like the fun between the characters. What was it like Tommy Boy with David Spade and Chris Farley?
Nope. I know that's a classic. I won't take anything away from that. I had never liked a David Spade Chris Farley movie.
Oh no, there's so much.
Yeah, I know. Send the hate mail. That's fine. But nope, can't do it.
Or send any mail.
They're just dumb.
If you're going to send mail, send it to
just
hello
talk to us. Anybody
at thebigpixel.net. Or you can reach out to any of the social platforms. We're on all of them. You can leave comments on the YouTube page underneath the video, and we'll get to them. If you have any questions or topics you want us to discuss, hit us up. So until next time, we will say goodbye.
Bye-bye.